jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
Yo, WCS back on the Boulevard. Once again, man, big salute to the supporters, those of you that watch the channel, those of you that tune in, interact, I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed already, and you just happen to be dropping through, subscribe. Mostly this is a combat sport channel, but, I've been, just talking about a little bit of current events lately, just because it seems like sometimes you just gotta moonwalk backwards a little bit, glide to the left and right, and take a little bit of time away and then step back on the dance floor, if you understand what I mean. This is one of those topics, man, that's really, have a long-standing history as we know it. Like, we've experienced so much conflict, not just fighting wars abroad. We are basically experiencing tragedy right here in Garrison, right here in our own backyard. You know what I'm saying? Those individuals that's involved, pretty much ruin the lives of families. They pretty much, disrupt the peace that we're supposed to have here on our home soil. And we've experienced that it's no place, like it's really no specific or particular place that's off limits. Everything is of targeted precedence this day and time. And this Christian school, it's no different. If you haven't already heard, there was a shooting at Nashville Christian school, leaving at least 3 children and 3 adults dead, official says. A 28-year-old woman with 2 assault rifles and a handgun opened fire inside a Covenant school, police said. The school serves as a preschool to the 6th grade. This is a Christian school. You know what I'm saying? No particular dwelling is off limits. It doesn't matter. Nothing is off limits this day and time. So let me dive into the article. It said 3 children and 3 staffers, and this is via CBS News. 3 children and 3 staff members was gunned down at a private Christian school in Nashville on Monday before the shooter, a heavily armed 28-year-old white woman, was killed by police. The shooting unfolded at the Covenant School at Burton Hills Boulevard, where officers engaged the attacker, described by Metropolitan Nashville Police Chief John Drake as a woman who appeared to be a former student at the school. Now, she appears to be a former student at this Christian school. She's 28 years old now. So it's been a while since she's been at this school. It's been a while. Now, I don't know what happened, but Christianity this day and time, people find so much fault with it that it's almost like people try to create as if it's a sin now, as if you're cursed to be a part of Christianity. I don't know. But if she was a former student at the school as a child and she's 28 years old, there were certain changes, I'm guessing, certain changes that took place in her life that brought her back to that very school to cause harm upon those who's in attendance. It goes on to say the shooting unfolded. I read that. At one point, she was a student at the school, but unsure what year, he said. The shooter was killed on the school's second floor. A police spokesperson said she had 2 assault rifles and a handgun, according to the official. Now, from my understanding, let me show you a quick pic of the handgun they're referring to. It seems like a 6-shot revolver. If you look right here, seems like maybe a 4 or 5, shot revolver. Who knows? But this is supposed to be the weapon, the pistol that she had, and 2 assault rifles. Students of the school, which serve preschool students through 6th graders, were being bused to the Wood Point Baptist Church 2 miles away to be reunited with their parents. Police said they first got calls about the shooter at 10:13 a.m. Central Time. Nashville firefighters first reported their personnel were responding to an active aggressor at 10:39 a.m. The police department response was swift. They heard shots coming from the second level. They immediately went to the gunfire. When the officers got to the second level, they saw a shooter, a female who was firing. The officers engaged her. She was fatally shot by responding officers. 5 police officers came upon the shooter and 2 opened fire on her. Aaron said the shooter entered the school through a side entrance on the first floor. By 10:27, the shooter was deceased. So she entered the school at 10:13, or they first received calls at 10:13 a.m. And just a little past 50, I'll say close to 15 minutes, they had killed her. One officer was hurt by shattered glass. The names and ages of the victim has not been released. The chief said the families of all 6 victims has been notified. Right now, we'll refrain from saying the ages, other than to say I was literally moved to tears to see this. And the kids, and they were ushered out of the building. Shortly after police announced the shooter was dead, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation also said there's no current threat to public safety. What I do know from my research with this particular individual was that, yeah, she probably attended school as a female, but it seems like she was in the process of transitioning to a mesh. I seen one picture. It's amazing how I came across this picture and I attempted to save it. I couldn't save it. And by the time I attempted to relocate the picture, I couldn't find it again. But it looks like this female, in my opinion, was in the process of transitioning to be a male. She's only the 5th female shooter to be a part of an incident like this, a mass shooting. From my understanding, she's only the 5th. And we're not talking about just numbers as far as, oh, this is amazing. No, I'm just putting the information out there that usually the description when it comes to gender is usually a male, right? But sometimes the circumstances does bring us to what we're talking about right now. And, my question is, why isn't her picture out yet? Like, even the picture that I was trying to get, it was It was distorted and everything. If she attended the school or whatever, y'all know who she is because she's deceased now. Her picture should be up here like everybody else, man. When it's a male that has participated in something as horrific as this, the picture is plastered all over the screen. But you have a female that's 28 years old who carried out a heinous crime in a preschool setting, which supposedly she went to school. She attended school as a mid-schooler. And her picture is nowhere up here. I haven't seen it yet. As I'm talking to you, it might be out, but this is unfortunate, man. You know what I'm saying? For this to happen. Not just because it was at the Covenant school, you know what I'm saying? It was at a Christian school. No. It's just looking at it. I'm just curious what happened with that individual. If indeed it is true, what's been going on in her life that brought her back to the very school that she attended. And I'm going to say she attended that school absent of any type of psychological conflict that she had when she entered that school and started the shooting. What happened? What ideologies did she pick up? Who, or if any, influenced her to feel differently about the way she was raised? Now, one thing I would be absolutely honest with you about is that just because you was raised in a Christian school or you went to church every day doesn't mean you're going to grow up to be this person that is sacrilegious, righteous, all of that, deals with the piety of everyday living. No, that's just not the case. I mean, parents in a lot of ways, they mean well, but depending on where you at in life, that doesn't mean a Christian school or Christian teachings is going to help you grow up to be this person that could never commit a sin like this. This is a perfect example. This is a perfect example on how adulthood does change lives, influence lives, real talk. Let me try to take you to another. Let me see. I'm going to take you to another article. Of course, this is tragic. This is very tragic, and prayers go out to Nashville, Tennessee. Those individuals that may have known or the ones who actually lost a child or the adults and everything, a family member and so forth. But this was a private Christian school in Nashville. It was a private Christian school. The school was founded back in 2001. It has about 200 students from preschool to sixth grade. So you're talking about from preschooling to mid-schooling. You know what I'm saying? Preschooling to mid-schooling. Roughly about 50 staff members. And, if you think back, we just not too long ago had a massacre up in Uvalde, Texas. Last year, first grader who shot his teacher in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? They just, I just seen an interview with her on how she said his face, the look that he had on his face when he shot her. This is a first grader, people. A first grader now. How does a first grader understand? Well, there's many ways. I'm not going to get into that. But a first grader was able to, fire off, engage with a firearm without even being scared of anything. No optimism. You know what I'm saying? No fear. Fully capable of operating a handgun and knowing what is the capabilities of him pulling this trigger and the damage that it's going to do to the target. That first grader knew all of that. It's harsh to say, but the first grader, they're not going to put him in an adult prison. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to lock him up for life because he shot a teacher. It's just unbelievable that it goes down to that age this day and time. And they just had a shooting in Denver. You know what I'm saying? Not too long ago too. I mean, this is I think I read previously the 19th. We're in March, the last week of March. This is the 19th school shooting. The 19th school shooting this year. If I'm correct, I believe it's 19th school shooting this year, and we only in March. It's unbelievable. This article said I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. That's coming from local law enforcement. They say the Covenant School was founded as a ministry of Covenant Presbyterian Church located in the affluent Green Hills neighborhood just south of downtown Nashville. So they pretty much tell you this was a school that was in the affluent Green Hill neighborhood. So, you're talking about affluence, you're talking about higher cost of living and so forth. But in our history, it doesn't matter where you stand at. Like, it was cool to say back then when you heard the news break and it was a shooting, people automatically put their compass into the rural neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Their GPS, their psychological GTS or psychological GPS just led them to, okay, this is a bad neighborhood. This is bad this is bad that. But no, these massacres, right? These mass shootings can be anywhere. And this was in the affluent part of Nashville, Tennessee. People was living well, but affluency doesn't mean your child is going to be happy. Affluency doesn't mean that you're going to be without conflict. You're going to be without personal problems. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of families that have worked their behind off to get money, and somehow, some way, it's not enough for their children. Their children have a different way that they want to go in life for whatever reason. And then, you'll hear kids all the time say, if I had what you had, man, I'd be happy. Not so much. Some rich kids out here that's just unhappy for whatever reason. I don't know. This article goes on to say President Joe Biden, speaking at an unrelated event in the White House on Monday, called the shooting a family's worst nightmare and employed Congress again to pass a ban on certain semi-automatic weapons. It's ripping at the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of this nation, Biden said. Now, for President Biden to say, well, I'm imploring Congress again to pass a ban on certain semi-automatic weapons, I don't think that's going to be the panacea to gun violence. It's not even going to be a temporary relief, because in this lifetime, we have what is called rights. When we have one of those amendments that we go by, a lot of people push to be able to have these rights, especially in certain states. The Second Amendment is always going to be there. So if one president is able to say, well, let me implore Congress to pass a ban, that ban, according to who's in office, it may stay there. And then when that person is out of office, it'll go back to where it is. But I haven't heard any statistics as to what happened when these bans was in place with these semi-automatic weapons. How many less? What was the percentage? What did it stop? I'm just curious. What did it stop? Did it stop any, if any? You know what I'm saying? Any, if none, if these semi-automatic weapons. You have gun dealers that are in good with the NRA. You have groups upon groups who donate thousands upon thousands of dollars to these gun right groups and everything. I mean, they're politically invested in gun rights. I don't think it's ever going to be anybody in office that's going to be able to absolutely shut it down. I just don't see it. There's too many people right at this point in time feeling that they need more protection. Look at Georgia. Look at Texas. Look at a lot of other states who are open ended when it comes to gun rights. They're open ended. So, I'll tell you this over and over again. When it comes to looking at a weapon sitting on the table, your visual is going to send a message to your brain. It's going to send the message to your brain housing headquarters, your eyes, right? And the perception is going to be different for everybody. If you have an individual that never handled a weapon before, they may look at that and consider a weapon that's just sitting on the table, not being bothered by anyone. They may feel this pretty much, oh man, that weapon looks dangerous. But really, it's the curiosity of them not knowing and the lack of training that causes them to feel the way they feel. And then if you have somebody that's actually trained just enough to understand what they're looking at, they might ask the question, well, why is the weapon just sitting on the table? Whose weapon is it? Oh, okay, that's your weapon. All right. It's not gonna be a big deal. I'm just talking about from the perceptive point of view, like the perception of a non-gun owner, a handler, vice a person who is a gun owner and handler, looking at a weapon that's just sitting there. Yeah, weapons can look dangerous to someone who's not trained, who never really put eyes on a weapon. But you have proper training. You know what I'm saying? If you go to the range and apply those safety rules and know how to handle a weapon, then guess what? You're going to be able to process what you're looking at a lot more effective than a person who has not handled a weapon at all in their entire life once. So when the president says he's imploring to Congress, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. I can see if you're talking about banning certain weapons from foreign countries. I can see it, that we may have conflict with. But as far as over here, there's a lot of civilians that believe that we need more protection. I'm just being honest. What's going on, CMD Boxing? JH on deck, Michael Johnson Boxing, talking more. What's good? Bruce Gas Boxing, Jazz, and more. Salute to the OG. How you feeling, brother? Bill's Boot Camp, salute. So let me get back to this article. So I pretty much mentioned what President Joe Biden was speaking on, and he went on to say it's ripping at the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of this nation. It's a lot of adversity that we go through as a nation. It's a lot. It's a lot. And you can never minimize massacres or school shootings or just someone losing their life due to the negligence of anyone or without the negligence. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying in this particular case, we could never become minimalist and just devalue a school shooting or a massacre because the numbers aren't that high. Still, someone lost a kid, whether that kid was attending a school or someone lost a kid when it came to the adults and the teachers because they were somebody's son or daughter. I don't know exactly who they are at this point in time, but they were somebody's son or daughter, or potentially husband or wife rather. And they lost their life too. This article goes on to say there has been 7 mass killings at U.S. schools since 2006, according to the database maintained by Associated Press and USA Today in partnership with Northeastern University. In all of them, the shooters were males who killed 4 or more people with a 24-hour time frame at K-12 school. So pretty much when they consider it a massacre, they don't consider it a massacre if it's 1 or 2 people, even though more than one person is considered a group. But when it comes to a massacre, they look at it 4 or more people being killed to consider it to be a massacre. In this case right here, they're looking at 6 individuals who lost their life. So they deem it in the media as being a massacre. Okay. I just thought I would explain that. You know what I'm saying? Just in case someone didn't quite understand why they're mentioning 4 or more people. All right. Researchers believe that there are 3 main explanations for why men commit more shootings than women, according to Jonathan Metzl, a professor of sociology and psychiatry at Vanderbilt University who has studied mass shootings for more than a decade. He goes on to say men have more testosterone, are socialized to be engaged in violence, and own more guns than women. From school shootings historically, very often we think that people have some historical connection or emotional connection to the school, he said. Monday's tragedy unfolded over roughly 14 minutes. Police received the initial call about active shooter at 10:13. I'm going to skip over some of this if it's in repeat. 2 officers from a 5-member team opened fire in response, fatally shooting the suspect at 10:27 a.m. Other students, let me see. People were involuntary trembling, said Dibble, whose children attend a different private school in Nashville. The children started their morning in their cute little uniforms. They probably had some Fruit Loops, and now their whole lives has changed today. All you can show is that the human spirit, that basically that we are all here together and hold their hand more than anything else, he said. I thought I would just see this on TV, she said, and right now it's real. In a tragic morning, Nashville joined the dreaded long list of communities to experience a school shooting, Mayor John Cooper wrote on Twitter. So at this point in time, depending on where you at in life, where you're residing at, right? There's some people that are still disconnected to the dangers that we have to experience on a regular basis. It's a lot of individuals that are living other lives. They may live a life of influence. They may be disconnected. They may feel that a private school protects them from any type of harm coming to their kids. They may have seen school shootings in the past, the massacres, and they saying to themselves, well, you know, that's why I homeschool my child. That's why I send them to this private school. People's mentality, I've had people tell me that, like, the reason why they homeschool their kids, the reason why they shelter their kids, because they are afraid of days like this. Real talk. And they should be. Anybody who listens, you should be afraid of days like this. Absolutely. You should be. But guess what? Not everybody can homeschool their kids. Not everybody is from a 2-parent household. Not every adult can work from home. You know what I'm saying? Some adults actually have to drive. They have to attend their workspace. So there's no way for them to homeschool their children. So for some people, it's a benefit, and some it's not even a decision that they will ponder. It's just not going to happen. But this was a private Christian school, which their lives were interrupted from supposedly a student they used to attend as a child. We're talking about a student who used to attend as a child. Now, I don't know the full, it's only so much information that's out. But I'm curious to know if any did that particular adult, 28-year-old adult, that used to be a student at the school, did she leave any evidence behind? Did she leave a letter as to why? I'm pretty sure they searched her home already. And like I said before, you can barely find any picture out here of this so-called student that attended the school. And I'm in disbelief as to why she's not plastered all over the online, news. Why aren't we able to see who this person was? She was a tyrant just like anyone else who made the decision to go disrupt people's lives and thought that, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to take the lives of innocent people. She's a tyrant too. So why not put her up here as quickly as it is when it's male shooters? Why isn't she up here? Her picture plastered up here. It just seems to me, I'm not trying to come with a different type of temperament, and make this about something else. But all I'm saying is this incident doesn't have anything to do with Christianity. She pulled the trigger and she took lives. I just hope it's not because of where she's from, where her parents was from, who she connected to, or who her parents connected to, or whatever. I don't know. It's very little out here of this woman, 28 years old. Her picture should be out here just like everybody else. She snuck into a side door on the first floor and commits to killing people. So therefore, like I told you, what she did is considered to be a massacre. It's 4 or more individuals. Is it just because where she's at, where she's residing, who her parents is? I don't know. I don't know if she stayed with her parents or what. But truth be told, she was able to gather some weaponry and enter the school and take the lives of 6 individuals. 3 of those individuals supposedly are children who never was able to live up to the point of her 28th birthday. You know what I'm saying? She went up there and took them out. And then those individuals who's older, who were supposed to be the teachers in that school and everything, she take their lives too. And no telling if they was a husband, a wife, and who they was taking care of in their personal lives. You feel me? So that is the emotional element of a massacre, a tragedy like this. These incidents will always be horrific. There will always be people with their basket of opinions. Always. And not everyone is going to be as forgiving. Not everybody's going to be able to speak on these tragedies so nicely. Some is like, you know what? That's why I am who I am. That's why I carry what I carry. That's why I continue to go to the rain. I got to be prepared. You can never be prepared for something like this unless you are forewarned. You know what I'm saying? You can never be prepared for something like this. Now you're talking about kids that are in the inner cities carrying guns to school and backpacks and so forth like this, and it's for protection too. But people look at it as them just breaking the school laws and them living in the bad neighborhoods, so they have to protect themselves and so forth. But if you put a kid in a neighborhood of affluency like this, they're still too young per law to be able to carry a firearm with them to school for protection. And also, you have to factor in this security. When these massacres happen, right? You will hear almost everyone, so many people chiming in about getting security. You know what I'm saying? They have to pay for this security, right? They have to be proactive when they're being reactive. What I mean by that is that the reason why security is up there because an incident has already happened that piqued the attention for them to get security. Now that they have security, nothing is really going on, just minor school spats and fights and stuff like that. So it's difficult to just say the countrywide, you know what I'm saying? We're going to have security in every school, in colleges, high schools, middle schools, preschool. We're going to have them everywhere. Because I heard somebody say this one time about elementary schools, right? I grew up in elementary schools. You know, there's no preschools when I grew up, right? I heard them say something like, nobody's going to come to an elementary school and do anything, man. There's a bunch of kids. They ain't going to harm nobody. You know, even, you know, these people that do that type of stuff, some of them have hearts. And listen, the gloves, come on. People are not going to him with white gloves, people. They're not trying to go in here to prove to you that they have there is a spiritual part about them as an individual. They have a part that believes heavily in their Lord Savior Jesus Christ or their supreme being. I mean, they're not wearing gloves in there like that. Nothing is off limits, bro. Nothing is off limits. Shout out to Mr. Gumbo in the building. I ain't see you, Mr. Gumbo. Shout out to Mr. Gumbo, aka Hot Grease, aka Mr. Sucker Free. Shout out to Toby in the building. Salute to you, brother. Salute WCS in the chat. Gumbo says salute WCS and family, just been busy. No doubt, no doubt. You know, I'm gonna drop you a call anyway, man, and see how you been. You know what I'm saying? To see how you been. But yeah, we should keep our eyes and ears, you know, in the news, because it's just been a whole lot of tragedy that's been going on regardless, you know, of this case over in Nashville to previous weeks before now. It's been tragedy after tragedy. And unfortunately, the needle doesn't stop moving. The needle doesn't stop moving. And the part that affects us the most is when we have a spike, knowing that another incident has happened and it's all over the headlines, and it's another tragedy. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it deals with kids. You know, especially when it deals with kids, man. You know, kids sustain the highest point of innocence because of not knowing or being in a place where they don't have to take care of themselves or have sole independent responsibility. At that point, they're still being taken care of by their parents or whoever it is. So when somebody come in there and perform something or carry out something like Sandy Hook, you just look at that like a lot of people, you know, look back at those situations. Even law enforcement, first responders, firefighters, they look at the scene of all those kids that was in there. Just like they did today, they look at all all these kids who lost their life, and that's PTSD. They'll never get that out their head. You know, these first responders, they have messed up lives too. Seriously, you know, once you take a psychological snapshot of something, it stays there for a long time. The brain is a powerful headquarters. It is powerful. And you think for 1 second these people that's showing up on these scenes where there's been tragedy and they're not processing that over and over again when they lay their heads down to get rest? You think they're not thinking about, oh, yes, they are, man. And look, even they'll tell you, right, that when it comes down to these individuals resting their head and then going back into it again, right? This is their occupation. So you signed up to be in this position. So you go back up there and you experience another situation, one after the other. And you would hear people say, oh, so-and-so is desensitized desensitized, mean you're basically witnessing tragedy, but yet your reaction to it isn't as active or isn't as shocking or isn't a type of reaction where people see it play out in your mannerisms or your behavior. You know, they say you become numb or you become desensitized. Yes, desensitivity will aggravate PTSD all the time. You have been conditioned to view tragedy over and over and over and over again. And when your eyes are open and closed, you still see that tragedy. But your body over time, remediating this particular snapshots over and over again, guess what? You may not react to it with the awe that you had before, but still, your psychological headquarters is cataloging this information. It is mapping. And then as you keep going and going and going, you have advanced PTSD from looking at all these people's faces, all these snapshots, all this death and this carnage and everything else. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's definitely going to be the sharpest edge of the blade for these first responders. Looking at these innocent kids get their lives taken, seeing the blood, seeing everything else that goes along with it. You know, their facial expressions. I mean, I can only imagine what that is. You know what I'm saying, to these first responders. So, you know, prayers go out to these Nashville natives over there that's going through this, just like everyone else that's experienced tragedy. You feel me? I'm not going to hold y'all long on this topic. I just wanted to drop through and you know, speak on it for a little bit because it is all over the headlines. And it's just unfortunate every other week we have to basically turn on and you know, hear the news like this. It's almost like pouncing on the latest news. You know, we want to hear some positivity, we want to hear something that's positive, but that's not always the case when it comes to breaking news. You know what I'm saying? It's not always the case. So appreciate y'all once again. Salute to everyone who pulled up. Continue to support the channel, man. Hand in hand is much appreciated. Check for the notifications. It's not, you know, it's not like they send them out all the time. And turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports, man. I'm out.